The mists around a sleepy village begin to stir in the night. Strange lights flash from above on the mountain, and whispers come from the dark as children waken in the night to strange noises. In the foothills above a village, an old mine has reawoken by a group of interlopers who have disturbed the ghosts and restless spirits that dwell there. Hello adventurers, and welcome back to the Red Quills. My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be continuing on our recent quest, which is to create packs of maps that you will need and can help you in creating adventures of your own. And in this case, what we're going to be doing, as we've done for the rest of this series, is we're going to go ahead and create this group of 3 maps, and I'm going to release a sample adventure to go along with it. In this case, this adventure is much more focused on exploration and traps than on combat and diplomacy, which was really our focus in the previous episode. And to that end, I'm going to be creating a grid map, which is specifically designed for that exploration and the environmental dangers that come with it. I'm going to be creating an overview of the mine itself, so that you as the game master and they as the players gain some context into the layout of it, and of course an isometric view of the village itself for immersion purposes. So in this case, we're going to be focusing on a mine to the south of the village of Whitehill. It's just going to be called South Whitehill Mine. In its history, it was excavated several hundred years ago by a group of gnomes who had a wedding at one point within the mine, and their ventilation system, which kept out a deadly gas, was sabotaged on the night of their celebration so that all within died. Their restless spirits have haunted the mine ever since, and though they've been quiet until now, a group of were-rats have recently moved in and repaired the ventilation system. This reminder of why the ghosts died has stirred them up, and now the were-rats, protected by a silver door, cannot leave. What's more, the restless ghosts have begun to disturb the village at the bottom of the hill, Whitehill Village, and the locals want to hire a group of adventurers to help them clear the mine out. I'm going to add in a lot of options for discussing the history with the locals and with the ghosts themselves, but overall this adventure is purely about exploration and the environmental dangers of the mine itself. So you can see that what I've done first is I've gone through with the latest tool that I'm using for this series, which is the acrylic paint pens. A summary of these tools can be found in the description below, but I found that these have been really good for creating intense colors that really pop for the eye. When I've scanned them later on, they've lost a lot of that vibrancy, but in person they are extremely saturated, which is great for creating a grid map in which you can very easily tell what is interior and what is exterior. So I'm going to do the outline of the grid map and the overview in the acrylic paint first, and then I'm going to move to the isometric map of the village, so that I can give the paint time to dry before I go over and outline everything and detail everything with the fine liner pens. This is the process I'm going to be using throughout this series, and it's worked rather well to create this style of map. And let me know what you think. In the past, I've used a combination of sometimes pencil colors, sometimes watercolor paints, but in this case it's turned out slightly different, and I'd be very interested to hear your opinions. While I get started on the village of Whitehill, let's talk a little bit about the context here. The local villagers know next to nothing about the history of the mine, and so this puzzle presents itself to the players and requires their exploration and attention. They cannot easily find answers without going into the mine and risking their safety. But of course the mine is still filled with the poisonous gas that caused the death of the gnomes in the first place. So what I've done is I have added in some optional rules for gas poisoning against the poisonous vapors which rise from the seams of coal that the gnomes once mined. Now later in the mine's history, a group of dwarves attempted to move in to take advantage of the natural resources there, and they outfitted the mine with a number of silver doors which were designed to keep the ghosts contained. And though it did do that to a certain extent, the combination of the rising gas and being trapped within certain rooms away from the attention of the ghosts meant that they all eventually died. Details about this encounter can be found in a diary excerpt of the Dwarven Supervisor, the details of which are in the adventure pack. As they go through, they can find more and more clues, not only about the gnomes that went in originally, but the dwarves that followed them, how they can overcome the gas, and eventually to the mine's latest invaders, a group of 3 were-rats who have escaped from a nearby circus where they were freaks. And there are several options for giving the players combat challenges. The ghosts, for instance, are very difficult to defeat unless you have silver or magical weapons. And the were-rats are much more likely to be hostile because of their own particular experience with outsiders. So now as I go through and I outline the bird's eye view of the hillside upon which you can find the mine, you can get an idea for how it's laid out. It's only a very small encounter, this particular adventure. Ideally, you could complete it within one session. But that being the case, there are 8 different chambers within the mine that your players can encounter, and each of them has a specific kind of danger. Whether it's the rising gas, which gives them a ticking time limit, whether it's the ghosts in the corridor, which provides a high risk of danger for low-level adventurers. As well as in several chambers, you can find the different clues that allow them to piece together what has happened. Because there are several different outcomes for this adventure, and how the ghosts and the were-rats will receive the players, depending on how they approach dealing with the ghosts, dealing with the were-rats, and the ventilation machine as a whole, which has the possibility of releasing the remaining gas and making the mine completely uninhabitable. Overall, it should provide a significant challenge for an inexperienced or low-level group, but does allow them to approach the problems from different angles. Their puzzle solving, their role-playing, their diplomacy, their clue finding, and of course the ability to just fight. Now for this series, what we've done is I've gone through and I've made the adventure modules that pair with each of these map packets. And in this case, you can find that on my Patreon. It's free for download for anyone who wants it. You can find the link in the description below. And please do use it, not just as your own adventure, but as a template for creating your own. So you have an idea of how you can use the different maps and different chambers and different outlines to create different challenges for your players. But what's more, as we go through this series, I'm creating Atlas excerpts that will eventually be added on to my work in progress, which you can also find on the Patreon channel for the Red Quills. Now for my paid subscribers, the updates are going to be available as we go on week by week, but I'll be dropping new versions of the Atlas every 3 months for the public, so you can have a read of it and get ideas for your own settings, or perhaps use it in your own campaigns. Now, as always, I want to thank everyone who has supported the Red Quills. It's been an absolutely amazing journey, and I couldn't have done it without you all. Even just leaving a like or a comment is enough support. If you do want to check out my Patreon channel and see how else you could support us in creating new videos and new topics, if you want to vote on upcoming videos or have a look at the different series that I'm considering creating in the future, you can check that out on the Patreon. Or if you want to collaborate with a group of like-minded people, I've made a Red Quills map-making Discord server where people can share their own world-building and map projects, and you can talk and troubleshoot amongst yourselves, as well as ask for different updates or comments or discuss new ideas with me. Now, thank you for watching this video. As always, if you have any questions, you can chuck it in the comments below. I've put a list of all of the materials that I've used in the description, as well as the links to my Patreon, to the Discord, as well as the downloadables that you can find on my channel. There's also a written version of this outline that you can find on my website. And I will see you next time for the next update of these adventure modules.